Welcome to EB-5 Investment Voice, where attorney insights intersects with immigration investments. If you are a foreign investor, domestic fund manager, or enterprising entrepreneur and want to get the most out of the EB-5 program, you have come to the right place. I'm Mark Deal, and I'll be your co-host on this journey. I'm joined by your host, Mona Shaw, and other attorneys at Mona Shaw & Associates, as well as immigration leaders from around the world. So let's get into EB-5 Investment Voice. Hey there, EB-5 Investment Voice loyal listener. You remember last episode, we talked about the fall of Signature Bank and its impact on EB-5, and boy, did it make some waves in the industry. And because of that, we have a lot of voices on this show to give you more insight. Hey, Mona, what do we got in store for us today?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I have to tell you, one little Signature Bank going down has created not only a wave, it's a tidal wave. It's such a void in the industry. We're just getting nothing but emails and texts about this, Rebecca, right?
Oh, I know. Every investor they're all nervous and wondering what's happening. I know we sent out emails. Luckily enough, everything was fine. EB-5 funds were safe. But of course, I wouldn't say necessarily competitors, but other banks are out there who dealt with EB-5, Signature Bank being one of the largest, but there are others out there. And of course, taking advantage of this situation.
It's the team within Signature Bank, which is really the crux of the matter. And we are thrilled today to have the team in EB-5 banking on the podcast with us.
That's right, Mona. Joining us today, we have Bob Sloposky. We also have joining us April Feely and James Sozomenou, the entire team, to let us know what is happening with EB-5.
Bob, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Always a pleasure to speak with you, Mona.
So much happening. It's been hard even getting a few minutes for you to come and record this podcast.
Well, we are onboarding many of our clients who were with us at Signature Bank, and they're coming back to us, and we are opening accounts as we speak. So we've been bringing people back into the fold all day long.
Well, before we go any further, for anyone who's just coming on and listening and not really understanding the significance of what you did at Signature, perhaps you or your team could just give us a quick outline of the kind of deposits and what you actually did within EB-5.
So we've been in the EB-5 space for 14 years. And over those years, we have administered hundreds of billions of dollars. The team has been with me from the beginning. There are 7 of us that were on the team. Many of your listeners know all of us. All 7 of us left the bank and looked at many opportunities. In fact, we had 7 offers made to us. And I looked at the balance sheets of every bank that came to us, and I wanted to make sure that where the team landed was a safe haven for the EB-5 client and the EB-5 industry. So I looked at the commitment that the bank would have to EB-5, what assets they were willing to devote to the promotion of EB-5, what their cash positions were, whether they held certain, what I would consider to be toxic assets and toxic loans. For instance, there are banks out there that are still holding crypto as collateral for loans that they made.
Oh, gosh.
It's a very dangerous thing.
Hey, Bob, I understand that holding a lot of crypto is certainly a red flag, but what are some of the things that people should be looking for in a bank?
One of the things that I would advise who is looking to place deposits to do is not just look at traditionally what a bank has considered to be a core space of concentration, which were loans. Now you have to look at whether or not there is a concentration of deposits within a certain space. And you need to see what they're using to collateralize their loans. And crypto as collateral for a loan is a toxic situation. Crypto is such a volatile asset. What could happen if the value of crypto, for instance, goes down? Then someone's loan is going to have to be recollateralized with additional cash. So it's a very dangerous situation. And, also people don't understand FDIC insurance completely. You are insured to $250,000, but that does not mean that your money is available immediately. So I would tell people to go on the FDIC website and take a look at the process of how you get your money back, under what circumstances, and the documentation you may have to file as a claim to get that money back.
It's so important to know, Bob. And also, what I feel, having worked with your team for so many years, the biggest asset that you bring to the table, especially in EB-5, is your understanding of EB-5 and the way that your team has helped us. We've had many a difficult, for example, IA-29, and we've reached out to your bank for help, and you've been wonderful. So, I mean, do you actually train everybody in your team on EB-5, or how do you manage that side?
I read page 1 to page last of the EB-5 legislation and marked it up and understood it, soup to nuts. And in fact, had attorneys calling me, asking me for my interpretation of different things. And I followed the Bering lawsuit from beginning to end and predicted that one word would turn the entire case to the EB-5 industry, and that the government would not prevail in their case. And it's interesting to see how one word can change a federal judge's mind as to the intent of legislation when it is transcribed into regulation.
Bob, we'll get to that one word in just a moment, but I want to clarify something here. At the top of the show, we were talking about issues with Signature Bank, but you are not with Signature Bank, correct?
The bank that we're with is called Metropolitan Commercial Bank. I suppose we should mention where I am and where we are. It's a bank that was established in 1999. It's publicly traded. People can look it up. The ticker symbol is MCB. It is an amazing place. Not only are they very strong financially, they're diversified. They do not deal at all in anything that touches crypto. And it is just a well-managed, strong bank that started an EB-5 division that we came to, and we have joined them as their EB-5 group, and they are totally committed to the space.
I don't know if you remember, Mark, 7 years ago, almost to the day, 7 years ago,
Yeah.
Bob did a podcast with us and just talking about the same issues relating to coming in with Signature Bank. Do you remember, Bob?
Yes, I do.
Cyclical, isn't it?
So, Bob, this is great. I love the fact that, going back to what Mona was saying, that having the experience in EB-5, and you also have a background in economics, you've spoken a lot because of your knowledge in EB-5 and economics. You're able to speak on EB-5 panels. You've brought out like where the economy is going and kind of predicted where we're going with EB-5 and all of this. And with that, you also brought your team, and there's just more to it, right? There's more to than just the knowing where to invest or who to invest with. And James, I wanted to bring you in to discuss a bit about how important it is. And we as lawyers, we know how important it is, right, Mona, with PPMs, how to read PPMs, what goes into a PPM, but it's also important for the banks to know how to read all these offering documents as well. So James, tell us a little bit about your procedures and what you do with these offering documents and how it relates with the banks.
Sure. Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, understanding how these offering documents are put together and the complexity behind them is very important to the overall offering, not just from the regional center standpoint, but also from the bank standpoint. It's very difficult to enter into something that is not fully understood. So we spend a lot of time educating ourselves, speaking with folks like yourselves and outside counsel, other professionals that are across the EB-5 landscape, to really get the best understanding of what's happening in the market. And then we take that back, internalize it. And then when we do our analysis of projects that are sent over to us, we spend a tremendous amount of time doing due diligence on the backside, which entails reading a couple hundred page PPM from time to time, which I would appreciate if you guys could shorten those up a little bit, but I understand I understand why they are so detailed and why there is so much information in them. But to speak to an earlier point, our team stays up to speed in a very fluid manner on what's happening within the space, how PPMs are changing or how offering documents are changing with the legislation and the different things that we expect to see in such documents. I spend a lot of time with those documents going back and forth with the regional centers or the law firms that are preparing those with different red lines, different comments, edits, suggestion, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, our goal from the bank is to make sure that we are a piece of the puzzle that is getting this project moving, right? We never want to be an issue or a problem with, said project that we're working with. And I think we've done that to a flawless manner over the years that we've been involved in EB-5.
Well, James, I'm hearing you say take a long time, but I mean, you're one of the fastest team out there that we know that comes back. And within 2 days, you've got everything prepared for us. So it's been refreshing to work with people in the industry who know what they're doing because EB-5 moves quickly. So it's nice having a team who can work with us and move just as quickly as we do.
Yeah, our goal is to not be a hindrance at all. The quicker we can get it back to you, the more positive the experience. And thanks to all the studying that we do within this complex program that we all work in, we're able to turn these things around, as you mentioned, within a very quick time frame. And it only helps expedite the process for our regional centers and our projects to be able to get to market confidently.
Well, going back to now complex, as we saw with RIA coming in now, I know we've talked about it in so many different podcasts, but with the banks, how are you guys keeping up? And Bob mentioned earlier, he's read the entire RIA from first page to last page. Are you finding it difficult to keep up with it?
Keeping up with it? No, I don't think we find it difficult to keep up with. Obviously, it has extended the length of what the PPMs are now because there's just additional language, additional disclosures, things of that nature that are going in. But just like anything else, when there are changes, they become industry standard and industry norm. So we're starting to see a lot of the language kind of replicate itself across different PPMs, depending on who's writing them. There could be some variances.
April, one of the issues that a lot of the projects do have is that they want to open another account, say account for one of the job creating entities, or maybe it's a personal account for one of the investors. Will you still be able to assist on that front?
Absolutely. We are in the process right now of being able to open up accounts for investors, along with the JCEs, the NCEs, the actual escrow account for the respective projects. And we're able to stay with the investor very close as far as tracking each dollar that comes in that is going towards their investment, being able to track their aggregation of funds that come in from overseas, and then facilitating the transfer from their account personally into the EB-5 escrow account that we are also facilitating, and then facilitating the release from escrow into the NCE, JCE, etc. So we are basically all hands on deck as it pertains to almost every single step of this process, starting with the investor themselves, the foreign national.
Wow, April, as I mentioned before, you have been wonderful helping us with our I-829 and tracking and everything. But one other question, do you do any kind of due diligence of funds coming in from countries like, say, Iran or those type of sort of more difficult countries?
Yes, so we do have the ability to work with foreign nationals from 41 different countries so far, which we can assume that that list will grow. And we are extremely sensitive to the daily limits, the lifetime limits, the fiscal year limits. For instance, I know India's fiscal year just started over in March. So we had a bunch of people trying to get their money into the bank before the new fiscal year started so that they would have the new limit presented for them as far as their lifetime limit is concerned. So we accept funds from all of those countries and that we run due diligence on everybody that sends money into the bank.
You know, that leads me to another question, because often the investor needs to bring their money over before we have all the documents or everything ready. I know you used to have what's called a reservation account. Bob, do you still have that reservation account with Metropolitan?
Yes, we do. So that is an account that has two options when the investor's money comes in. They are presented at some point with the project documents, and they decide to go into the project, meaning that they will give instruction for us to move money out of the reservation escrow account into the project escrow account, or they will decide based upon their review of the documents, that they do not choose to move forward into the project, in which case we will send the money back to the investor. So it gives a regional center who has a pipeline, or in fact, individuals who want to send money for the project that has not completed its documentation immediately, but they can't actually move forward into the project until the documents are presented. So this is a unique way to allow a regional center to bring money in and hold it in an escrow account until their documents are ready.
It's been extremely useful. I think reservation accounts were the best inventions. I don't know if you guys invented it or another bank did, but Bob, also, you guys do an awful lot of analysis before you do anything. Every time I speak to you, you're coming out with these figures.
Yeah, so remember, we're the first ones to see the money before the government, because the money comes into the bank. And so we're the first ones to know that an investor has sent their money. So we keep track of the country of origin of every dollar that comes in. So we're able to rank the 40 some odd countries that money is coming in from in order of greatest to least. We also track the type of project that money is coming in for. And we track weekly the incoming investment dollars. So we actually have a unique ability to be able to say, interesting, in this country, this type of project is bringing in money the fastest. So it's sort of an interesting bird's eye view of where the money is coming from. And it's interesting that different projects bring in money faster or slower, depending upon which country they go to for the same type of project. And we see that. We use it as it's one of our clients is able to have us counsel them on that.
You know, Bob, with the wealth of knowledge that you have and the confidence that you install within the EB-5 world, for want of a better word, again, I'm going to ask you, why Metropolitan Bank? Was that your only option, or did you have other options?
No, we had about 7 options, 2 of which included starting our own bank. So 5 banks pursued us very aggressively. We looked at all of them. I asked for financials on all of them and spent time looking through their financial statements, their assets, their liabilities, their concentration of their investments, their concentration of their deposits, the management style, how they ran their banks, whether there was a multi-layer process that you had to go through to get to the president of the bank. I report directly to the president of this institution. I work right next to internal counsel. We're all on the same page with respect to the escrow agreements that everyone is used to. So they're not going to see a lot of surprises in our documents. And just as we have done for 14 years, we are used to dealing with red lines that make a template pick to a regional center's project. And we've been doing that for quite some time, and we're going to continue to do that.
Will we still see you at all of the events, the EB-5 events and the marketing events and all the things which happen within the EB-5 community?
You'll be seeing me a lot, and people may get tired of seeing. I don't know, but yes, the answer is you will absolutely be seeing me overseas. We will be in San Diego. I am working with the White House and have had a couple of Zoom calls with the White House. I will be there in the next, I would say, 45 days in person. They are bringing USCIS to the meeting. And there is going to be a very interesting new asset class within EB-5 that I think will be very appealing to the EB-5 community, and more to come on that.
Oh, wow. I'm excited.
Another podcast.
I do have a pertinent question, though, for you, either for you, Bob, or James, whoever wants to take it. There are a number of people who have their money tied up in escrow in the accounts which you had with Signature Bank. What happens to them? How do we move escrow?
Well, Mona, that's a great question. And there's probably not enough time on the podcast to go through all the different options, but certainly, if you want to know options on different ways, whether it's breaking escrow or transitioning escrow, et cetera, we'd be happy to talk with you guys or anyone that's out there listening to this in detail about how those things can get done. We'd be more than happy to have those conversations.
Wonderful. And Mark, we are going to embed the details of how to reach Bob and James and April in this podcast.
Yes, we certainly will. Thank you for bringing that up, and we'll make sure that that's embedded right now. So whether you're listening on your mobile device or on the desktop, just look at your screen and you can see where to contact Bob, April, or James.
And I'll just add that there are 4 more of us here. They're already outside opening accounts. So it is.
Yeah.
So this is great. I know we've had a really good conversation that's been a bit more technical. It's good for lawyers. It's good for regional centers. We're working with the escrow account day in, day out. But for those investors, I think, like we said in the beginning, how many investors called us were concerned about their money? How can we make the investors feel that their money is safe even before it goes into the project that they have to put their money at risk?
So I can tell you that Metropolitan Bank is judged as being well capitalized, which is a term of art from the FDIC, with a total risk-based capital of 13.4%, which is astounding. It's got a diversified lending profile with strong asset quality and essentially no non-performing loans. So we have an investment grade deposit rating, which was recently affirmed on January 25th, 2023 by Kroll, Kroll. Anyone who wants to read more about the bank can go on and Google Metropolitan Commercial Bank, New York. The ticker symbol, if you want to look up information on the stock, is MCB. And you will find that it is a very well managed, very well capitalized, and very conservative institution.
Oh, excellent. Bob, there's so much to discuss. I'm sure we'll have you back on the show very, very soon. But again, thank you so much for coming on the show and really giving all the investors, regional centers, project developers, attorneys, a little bit of peace of mind that there is someone out there within the banking industry who does understand EB-5 and really knows what they're doing.
Thank you very much, Mona and Rebecca. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And for all of our friends who we've worked with over the years and new friends that we hope to meet, please call us. We welcome calls and we are happy to talk further about what we do and what needs you have that we can meet. So we look forward to speaking to all of you, in fact.
Thank you. And thank you to James and April. Please don't get too mad at us when we're sending you multiple requests.
Never. Never. Thanks for having us.
Never, Mona, never. Thank you for having us.
What to do with my money.
Thank you for being with us today on EB-5 Investment Voice. The topics presented in this podcast is informational in nature and is not to be taken as specific legal advice. If you have questions on the topics presented in this episode or other investment immigration needs, please contact Mona Shaw & Associates. Mona and her attorney staff can be reached at mshawlaw.com. That's mshawlaw.com. Make sure you don't miss our next episode focusing on a different aspect of the EB-5 program by subscribing to the podcast. While you're at it, leave us a rating on iTunes. If you really found this episode valuable, share it with someone else that could benefit from this information. Until then, I'll see you on the next episode of EB-5 Investment Voice.